Hi, this is Dr. Susan Bashinsky. I'm your nurse faculty for Nursing 365. So I want to talk to you for a few minutes about this module, and as we get into the course, one of the main components of this course has to do with advocacy, making you aware of your voice as a nurse, not only as a nurse, but as a member of your communities, a member of your state, and a member of the United States. So most recently, we had one of our own nurses that were shot and killed in Minnesota. Under the Constitution of the United States, people are allowed to protest if they do so peacefully. And I know this is a very divided topic. I know that the subject of immigrants and immigration has really torn the United States apart. But I want to talk to you for a few minutes about it simply for the fact that the ANA has been very clear for many, many years now through their position statements and their white papers and their different things that they've put out of how they feel about nursing and immigration and immigrants and people that have questionable legal status. Now, I know many of you say, well, people shouldn't be here. Well, unfortunately, they're here. They're already here. And they enter our healthcare environments, and they are part of the patient population that we often find ourselves taking care of. Nurses have very clearly always taken care of people, no matter what's going on with them. If you're in the ED and there's two members of a gang fight come in and there's been a gun battle between them, you take care of both sides. You don't pick a side and then say, oh, I'm not going to touch that other patient because they were in the wrong. We've been on the front lines of wars and we've taken care of people no matter what side of the war they've been on. We've provided care and services, even if it's someone that's been fighting against the side that we live on or the side that we are on. And so this is true with immigration as well. As an ED nurse, I can tell you that I've taken care of prisoners from prison systems. I used to work at Detroit Receiving, and we have a prisoner module down there where the prisoners from Wayne County Jail would come. And prior to being taken to the jail, they had to get medically cleared. So we always had prisoners. I've also had nursing students at Detroit Receiving that have been in my care, and I've taken them into the units, and we've cared for prisoners up inside the facility on different units. So it doesn't matter what someone's legal status is. It doesn't matter if they're under arrest. It doesn't matter what they've done. I've taken care of people that have been murderers. I took care of a woman one time that was involved in domestic abuse and she shot and killed her spouse. And it was really hard. Not because I disagreed necessarily with what she did, because I don't know the circumstances and I don't know why she felt she had no other choice. But it was very hard because I could see that she was crying softly and she was really affected by it. And again, this was when I worked down at Detroit Receiving, and she was a prisoner in Wayne County and was brought to get her medical clearance. So we're often thrust in to take care and tasked with taking care of people that come from different walks of life and have different things going on with them and often have different legal statuses. So immigration is no different. So I want to go ahead and I want to share some things with you. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to put you on hold for 1 minute. Okay, I think I have it now. Okay. So the American Nurses Association has held that all individuals in the United States, regarding of their immigration status, have a human right to access healthcare services, and the organization has issued several statements and position papers on immigrants, emphasizing ethical obligations and social justice in nursing care. So some key ANA positions and statements. In 2010, there was one that healthcare is a human right. The ANA's long-standing position reaffirmed in 2010 that health care is a basic human right and should be available to all people living in the United States, including documented and undocumented immigrants. They also put out a position statement within their code of ethics for nurses that we have an ethical obligation to provide care to people. It emphasizes that advocacy and social justice, making it an ethical obligation for nurses to provide equitable care to all vulnerable populations, including immigrants. They also put out a statement having to do with family separation. ANA opposes family separation. They've strongly condemned the practice of separating children from their families at the border, calling it immoral and cruel, and urging policymakers to establish compassionate immigration policies that respect human rights. Condition and detention centers. The ANA has expressed serious concerns about the health and safety conditions in immigrant detention centers and has called for improvements to ensure that adequate medical care that upholds professional standards is delivered to all people, even within detention centers. ANA has been on the forefront of addressing health disparities. The ANA position papers highlight the wide-ranging social, economic, political ramifications of immigrants, the lack of access to health care, advocating for policies that reduce barriers and improve health equity. A lot of this goes into the social determinants of health, which we will be talking about during this course. And finally, two other positions that the ANA has taken. They have taken a position on the ethical nurse recruitment. We're not going to focus a lot on this. I also teach global health nursing as an elective. And the textbook that I chose for that talks a lot about health resources. But essentially, the United States, because of their power and ability, has the ability to attract nurses from other countries. And so there's a lot of concern about the fact that because we're a big power and we have vast resources, that we're draining globally and contributing to a global nursing shortage. The ANA has raised concerns about ethical implications of aggressive international recruitment, especially from developing nations with their own healthcare needs. Because what happens is these nations often sacrifice a lot to train healthcare professionals and to turn them into nurses. And they in turn turn around and leave the country. And often they send money back to family or friends or relatives in that country, but sometimes they just completely leave the country. And so I can tell you that that is an issue globally as well. And then finally, privacy and trust. The ANA supports protecting the confidentiality of patients' immigration status to build trust and ensure individuals are not deterred from seeking necessary care, aligning with its commitment to equitable care, despite the fact that someone has legal or illegal immigration status. So I wanted to say that the ANA also has a brief that's called Nursing Beyond Borders, Access to Healthcare for Documented and Undocumented Immigrants Living in the United States. That's available as well. And I could go on. But the most important thing, and the thing that I wanted to talk about, is that I'm going to have you watch a film called The Visitor, which is a very sanitized version of the status of immigrants. And it tells a story. It's a fictional story, but it really has a lot of good points to hone in on. And the other thing is I have you watching some documentaries by Jacob Silveroff, who's been an MSNBC coordinator on the news as far as a news reporter goes, and has been on top of the immigrant centers and the conditions that the immigrants have been living in. And he has a documentary that I have you watch that's called People in Cages. So part of advocacy is just making you aware of the issues that are out there and making you aware of the tools that you have at hand, which includes your nursing voice. It includes your profession to speak out to these issues and to make a difference in your communities. And so why I recognize the fact that immigration, again, is highly a divisive topic in the United States right now. Even within our own families, we often find ourselves at odds with family members and people that we love. because we see things differently. I know that's true in my family. It was true when my father was still alive. Some of the things that he said in regards to immigration, I just was shocked, absolutely shocked. Um, and the thing is this, and this is what I said to my father before he died. I said, Dad, you're talking about building a wall. This was back in President Trump's first term. And I said, you're talking about building a wall. You just mentioned the fact that you think it would be absolutely great if they electrified it so that it would hurt people that were trying to reach the United States. And I told him, I said, Dad, if the situation were reversed and you and us as a family were on the other side of that wall, I said, you would be like most of these immigrants are, people that are simply looking for a better way of life. They're not coming here to be millionaires. They're not coming here to live in mansions or take away our jobs. They're coming here because they're fleeing gang-related violence, drug cartels, and other really bad things that are going on in their home countries. If their home countries were so great, they wouldn't be coming here. They would stay. Many of them love their countries despite the fact that their countries are torn apart by violence. And so the point that I want to make is that no matter what's going on with people, we have an obligation to take care of them, and we have an obligation to take care of them when they're in our health systems. So no matter what their status is, no matter who they are, no matter how they got here, no matter where they're going, whether they're in detainment or not detainment, or whether they're arrested or not arrested, we as nurses have to provide unbiased care for them and quality care for them. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I did want to talk to you about that. And I did want to bring up the topic of advocacy because, again, you're going to be watching movies and you're going to be discussing topics in this course that some of them may be hot button topics. There's no doubt about it, like immigration. But some of the other topics are not so prevalent that we see every day. But the thing is that there are many opportunities for people to become advocates. And one last thing I want to talk about is another form of advocacy. As an example, my youngest daughter's 39. And when she was about 12, a friend that I worked with at one of the healthcare facilities down in Virginia had a daughter that was also 12. They were in the same grade, not same class, but same grade. And her daughter was riding her bicycle one day and she did not have a helmet on. And she decided to play chicken with a car that was coming towards her to see if she could get across the road first before the car hit her. She didn't make it. She got struck by the car. She got transported down to the children's hospital, and she stayed there for 6 months in acute critical emergency units down there, ICU, CCU, but for children, until she died. My friend had a choice. She could find herself within her own grief and loss and focus on that and become bitter, become angry that she had this major loss in her family and lost a daughter that she really loved. Or she could do something to help others. And my friend chose the latter. She worked tirelessly for almost 3 years to get a helmet law passed for children in Virginia that mandated that they had to wear helmets if they were on their bicycles. So this is an example of how someone can turn a tragedy or something really horrible that's happened to them or their family or their loved ones into something that is meaningful and changes the lives and protects or maybe provides safety for others so that they don't follow down the same path. You're going to be watching a movie on concussion syndrome starring Will Smith about football helmets. You're going to watch a couple other movies as well. We're going to watch movies about mental health. You're going to watch movies about the opioid crisis. There's just going to be a lot of different things that you're going to watch. Okay. And so these are all avenues to be advocates in your community, all avenues to be passionate and have a voice and speak out for people that are in need, the people that maybe don't have the same means or the same things that you and your family do. We're very lucky in America. I'm very lucky. I feel very blessed because My family has not had to suffer some of the things that other people have suffered through. And I've been able to always have food on my table and a roof over their house, clothes on their back, and send them to college. But not everyone can do that. And a lot of people come here to America seeking that out. So it's not just immigrants, it's people across all walks and lives in America that have needs, that have health issues, that have problems that we can become a voice for and an advocate for. So I'm going to stop now. At the top of the module, there's a quote by Virginia Henderson that I found very powerful that I wanted to share with you about advocacy. So I hope you enjoy this class, and I hope that you like the different pieces on advocacy. The movies, yes, most of them are fictional. The one on concussion syndrome is not. It's based on a true story. But they're setting you up, the movies and the videos and such, so that you can see some of the things out there that you could potentially be an advocate for. And your advocacy paper at the very end of the course is asking you to identify a topic that you feel passionate about, that you feel that you could be an advocate for. So with that said, I'm going to end now.